Let's get more now on North Korea's missile launch over Japan, which Pyongyang within the last hour has said it was a drill to counter recent joint military exercises by South Korea and the United States. Well, joining us from Virginia is Daniel L. Davis, former lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, who is now at the think tank Defense Priorities. Welcome to the program. What is your assessment of this situation and the options that perhaps America has now in dealing with this North Korea crisis?
Well, it's very clear that that this missile launch was a little bit more provocative because it wasn't just out into the sea, but it specifically went over the territory of Japan. And of course, as many of you may know, that's the third time since 1998, but the first since 2009 that has happened. And so given all that it's happened over the last few months, it certainly has to be taken seriously because, as I understand it, was, I believe they call it a Hwajong 12 missile, which is an intermediate continental ballistic missile, which has a range of about 4,500 meters. So while it can't get to the United States, that particular version, it certainly can get to Japan and South Korea and many other places in the Pacific.
You worked for Colonel Bob Manning, and he was one of the first people that we heard from the Pentagon saying that they're assessing the situation. What do you think, knowing the man and knowing how the system works, they will be considering to do?
Well, actually, I know the National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, who I used to work for, so it wasn't him. But obviously, he has a very key role in this. So what I hope he's going to advise the president is that we need to be firm, and we certainly don't want to be seen as weak or vacillating, but we definitely do not want to accelerate the danger and to make things worse than they already are. So I think it's critical that we not ramp up any rhetoric, that we not make the situation even closer to any kind of military conflict, because that works against everybody's interest in the region, most assuredly the United States and South Korea.
When you look at the situation now then and what's happening over the coming days, we know that the UN security meeting is underway as we speak, and you're saying that diplomatic course of action is the one to follow. But we've been down this road before, haven't we?
Well, we have, as a matter of fact, since 1994, when the first framework accord was put into place. But I argue with many people who make that same comment that we haven't had any war since 1994. And we have to understand that the regime of Kim Jong-un in North Korea, their primary objective is regime security. They want to live. So the last thing that they want to do is to have nuclear weapons and then use them, or unilaterally attack anybody else, because they know that that will draw an immediate and swift and probably fatal response against them. What he does want to do, though, is sound tough and sound brash and make clear through his military launches that he has the ability to do something if we should launch an offensive strike. So it's important that we not do anything that's going to make him feel like he's backed into a corner to where he feels like he has to use this. What we want to do is to initiate conversation. So just like with the Soviets during the Cold War and earlier with China, two large nuclear-powered countries, deterrence was perfectly valid then. And they were much more dangerous and have posed a much greater threat to the United States than North Korea. And yet we were able to successfully navigate that. So we need to follow what has succeeded in the past and to not get to a situation with so-called preventative war, which all that will do is probably spawn the very thing we're trying to avoid. And there's so many people that would be killed in such an event that we just absolutely has to be the last thing that we try to do.
Daniel Davis, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.